Hello everyone, Zadex Squared here and welcome to Clan Krug. So for today's video, I want to do a build focusing on Titan, specifically Phoenix Cradle Solar Titan. Phoenix Cradle is an exotic that makes it so that any of your sunspots also apply to your allies. It also doubles the length of your Sol Invictus, and because your sunspots grant Sol Invictus to you and now your allies, it doubles the length not only for you but for them as well. This makes it an incredibly useful support tank build, where you're able to create lots of sunspots and heal your allies to keep them alive and grant them that restoration that they need to stay alive in high-end content like raids or GMs. I'm running Roaring Flames and Sol Invictus. Roaring Flames is going to make it so any of our solar ability kills is going to increase the damage of our subsequent solar abilities, and it stacks up to 3 times. And Sol Invictus is going to make it so that any of our solar ability final blows, Hammer of Soul impacts, or defeating Scorch targets will create sunspots, and our abilities will regenerate faster and our super drains more slowly while standing in a sunspot. Sunspots also apply Scorch and deal damage to targets inside of them. It also gives allies restoration. So this plays into the whole Phoenix Cradle thing, where you're going to be able to throw out lots of sunspots by using ability kills, and then create these sunspots that are going to just sit on the ground where you or an ally can run through them to get that restoration and just be able to stay alive for longer. I'm running Throwing Hammer and Fusion Grenade. Fusion Grenade is just one of the strongest grenades on Solar, especially for Titan, and the Throwing Hammer is easily Titan's best melee. It's going to allow you to throw it, kill an ad, pick it up, and get the cooldown back to be able to keep throwing it and creating sunspots every single time that you do. For fragments, I'm running Ember of Tempering, Ember of Benevolence, Ember of Resolve, and Ember of Torches. This will allow us to get solar weapon final blows, which will then grant us and our allies increased recovery for a short duration. Also, while Tempered Metal is active, our weapons have increased airborne effectiveness, and also solar weapon final blows will create a fire sprite. Ember of Benevolence is going to make it so that whenever we apply Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies, we will gain increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration. Ember of Resolve is going to make it so that any of our solar grenade final blows will cure us, which will again help us stay alive. And Ember of Torches is going to make it so that our powered melee attacks, not kills, against combatants make us and nearby allies radiant. This is going to play into Ember of Benevolence, as will our sunspots. For weapons, any solar weapon will be incredibly strong here, and any weapon that grants Scorch stacks, especially with something like a Sunshot that's just going to do it intrinsically very easily, is going to be even better. For the GM build, however, I'm not even running a solar weapon, and it still plays perfectly fine. It's just useful to have that solar weapon to get a little bit more synergy going with the subclass. For mods, something like Hands On is going to be incredibly strong, as we are going to be able to get lots of melee final blows, and that's going to give us super energy, and our super is one of the strongest parts of this entire kit. Heavy Handed is going to allow us to get Orbs of Power whenever we get a melee power final blow. And then that's going to play into Armor Charge, as we're running Emergency Reinforcement, which will help us stay alive when we get low in any high-end content. I'm also running Recuperation, which is going to replenish our health each time we pick up an orb, and Enervation, which is going to reduce grenade cooldown each time we pick up an orb. Since we're creating so many orbs with our melee, we're going to then be able to run around and not only step in sunspots to get restoration, but also get just instant health pops, and also get our grenade back a little bit faster, which we can use to cure us, and it's also just helpful to be able to kill as many things as possible. While running this build, you're going to find it most effective when you're just playing back a little bit, staying safe, using your hammer when you need to run in to kill things in melee, but generally just sitting out of combat for a little bit, waiting till there's a good group of enemies, and then popping your super, throwing it at them, killing all of them. You can throw hammers at your allies, which is going to create sunspots, which is going to help keep them alive. And also you can just kill enemies with it, which will also create sunspots and keep your allies alive if they're running in for whatever reason to finish a champion or something like that. You can also use your super defensively, as it's going to be able to help keep you alive using your Sunspots and the intrinsic damage reduction of the super. This will allow you to res allies or get you out of a sticky situation if you're going to die. In slightly easier content like a raid or a master or a legend nightfall, this build's going to be even stronger as you're able to play even more aggressively, running up at adds, throwing out your hammer, killing things. It's only in GMs that you have to play a little bit more passively, where things are going to actually one-shot you in melee and not die to your hammer as easily. All in all, this build is incredibly effective at keeping both yourself and your allies alive, and is a welcome change in a current season where we see a lot of Void and Strand, and not as much Solar, especially on Titan. Especially with some of the seasonal artifact mods that we have, Solar Titan can be incredibly strong. I just feel like a lot of people don't necessarily play it as much. Anyway, that's it for the build. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions about it or have any suggestions for future builds, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. With that being said, I've been Zadix Squared. See you next time.